Hi, I'm Bob Fallowfield. If you're like me, you enjoy rail fanning and model railroading. And if you're like me, you enjoy engaging in interesting conversations about all things trains. Please join me and my friends on the platform.
This portion of the platform is brought to you by Roumettes, the fastest way to bring the illusion of 3D detail to the insides of your model railroad structures. And by Fast Tracks, helping the world build better railroads with a complete line of high-quality hand tools, specially selected for hand-laying track work.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the platform. I'm Bob Fallowfield. This is the video podcast for the rail fan and model railroader alike. We are on the north shore of Lake Ontario, somewhere between Toronto and Montreal. This is our train station, and today we are on the Platforum. Back with me today is Dave McLean, co-founder of Little Canada.
Little Canada.
That's not a statement about your height, Dave. It's got nothing to do with your height. Little Canada is all about replicating Canada in
I'll
miniature.
pretend that was nice.
I know, it was in love.
He was thinking about that for a couple
he
of
was,
days.
yeah.
He was holding
Well,
it.
is that the best you can do,
Yeah,
by the
but
way?
Well, you're a little guy. You're going to
You
show
had a
us
couple
some
of days to think about it. That's all you got.
little guy with big trains.
That's right.
Next to Dave is Neil Schofield. Neil is my brother in Action Red. We're both modeling CP Rail. You're modeling the Lyndonville and Newport subs
subdivisions, yep.
in HO, in your basement, where it's nice and cool right now.
Yeah. Might be in there right now.
Neil is from the greater Boston area in Massachusetts, and he talks funny, so don't worry about it. It's all good. Stay with us. At the end there is Bob Scott. Bob is the owner of Credit Valley Railway Company. CVRco.ca is the website.
That's it.
The largest hobby shop in Canada, also known as the Candyland. Thanks for coming back, guys, and joining me on the platform. Today, I want to talk about show and tell. I've asked each of the guys to bring show and tell items. And Dave, why are you tempting me with this gorgeous 148 steam engine?
Well, a couple things. You know, I've always had a thing for O-scale. Ever since my dad took me there when I was 8 years old, there to the Model Railroad Club of Toronto, my first exposure to big little trains. So it's always fascinated me, the scale and the mass. Trains in O-scale, because they're roughly 6 times the size of volume of an HO scale train equivalently. They have 6 times the weight, 6 times the mass. They actually start reacting a little differently. You actually hear them clunk over a rail joint. You know, if there's a derailment at speed, it is a bit of a mess. Ask me how I know. Never mind. That's another story for another time. So what I brought in today was just some of the things that we do run down at the Model Railroad Club of Toronto. Some of the engines I've been working at. I also have a home layout, or used to have a home layout until we moved to.
It will rise again.
It will rise again. So
Yes.
these engines don't run on my home layout. I modeled a Dominion Atlantic at home, but the Model Railroad Club of Toronto has its railway. It's the Central Ontario Railway, which is what you see here on this SW. So this started life as a Rock Island painted Atlas engine, and I stripped it down using the brake fluid method. Found that out. That was pretty cool. That worked really well, actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dave, I forgot to introduce our fourth guest. Our fourth guest is, of course, the railway.
The railway.
Yeah, and I think our fourth guest is going to rudely interrupt you here.
What's that dinging noise?
Yeah, that dinging noise. I should also, well, I'll wait. Here it is. Here's our fourth guest.
Old Via.
Another Via train.
Via.
And Dave, just before we get back to you, I should also mention that along with our fourth guest, the railway, we also have a Railstream webcam that is mounted to the station. We have a grade crossing here beside the station. We have a double super elevated main line, and some motorists bottom out their cars. We get oil pan scrapes. We get different words screamed out the window when that happens. We'll edit that out. Dave, back to this model.
Back to the model. So that started life as a Atlas SW and Rock Island River livery, so stripped it all off and painted it in the Model Railroad Club of Toronto's home railway, the Central Ontario. The Central Ontario Railway was actually the name of a real railway that ran in Ontario. It ran from the Trenton area in Ontario, on Lake Ontario, up into the mines area, the iron ore mines in Bancroft. So the club actually borrowed the name from the real railway, and actually it's been, I think the Central Ontario has been in existence longer. The model version's been in existence longer than the real version ever was. So back to the engine, is that with that you end up, with anything in O-scale, you want it to be heavy. So it put in a lot of weight in this, there's a lot of lead, and then the standard electronics package.
See how heavy it is. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah.
So that for a switch engine, I mean, it's great for the yards, can pull 15, 20 cars around fairly easily on the level grade. Not great on the main. If you start putting it up any sort of grades, they're not really built for that.
Are you DCC equipped at the O-scale club?
Yeah, we went that when we moved from our former location in Liberty Village to the new club location, which was about 6 years ago, and decided at that time to that it was time to go DCC. And it's a bit of a learning curve. It's not just two wires. We joke at we joke at the club. It's just one wire. It's simple. It's easy. Yeah. But the greatest thing about DCC is the ease of control, the sound, and so all of our equipment now is sound equipped. This, because of O-scale, you can get some fairly large speakers.
Oh, yes.
So there's a speaker in here, and it really pumps out the volume. It's pretty cool.
I'm jealous of the O-scalers when it comes to sound decoders because of the bass.
Yeah.
It's just so hard to get decent bass in HO and smaller.
Yeah, I know that. Yep.
Physics is physics. You need a big speaker to move a lot of air.
I've often envisioned a CP rail M636 big Alco in two rail low with a massive speaker,
Right, chug, chug.
Yeah, rumble the curtains,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one of the fun things about O-scale, especially in with DCC. It was a bit of a learning curve, like I said, but it allows us to do so much more. It's fun doing helper service in DCC, especially in O-scale. You can actually put the couplers on delay, and you can really feel the slack run in on the train, and you can actually watch where the slack action happens.
Yeah. The other thing that's interesting in O-scale is tackling grades.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of dealing with real tonnage.
Yeah, each car weighs minimum weight 1 pound, 16 ounces.
Yeah.
So that engine, the switcher probably weighs 3 pounds, so it's fairly light. But then you get into the steam engine here, which I'll talk about this now. This is actually a scratch-built engine. It was made by the guys of Aberfoyle Junction fame. So the late Chuck Bard made this locomotive along with Frank Dewberry. Who was involved in both the Model Railroad Club of Toronto and also started the Aberfoyle thing. Mm-hmm. So these guys scratch built this engine, and I bought it off of them about 5 years ago, and I've spent about the last 2 years trying to actually make it run. They never actually ran it at Aberfoyle because
it was a shelf queen.
It was a real spent its life in the roundhouse.
Yeah.
So what did I have to do to this? Oh boy, stripped it down, took it apart, remotored it, put in a rare earth magnet motor because it had one of those big old clunky open frame motors.
That runs so well.
Its starting speed of a scale, 20 miles an hour.
Runs like a paralytic duck.
So resprung it. Every driver on this is fully sprung. So when it goes over uneven track, it's like a four-wheel drive car. You can see the drivers moving around.
It's gorgeous.
Put weight in it, electronics. There's 2 speakers in this. There's a speaker pointing backwards in the tender. There's also another speaker in the smoke box up front. And it took hours and hours of trying to refine it because it's such a long wheelbase, and even though the curve radiuses at the club are fairly broad, 56 inches, it still has a challenge getting around curves. And I call it the track tester because if there's any track that is the slightest bit challenging, this guy finds it. So that's the story. But it's a neat engine. The prototype, I should talk about that. The prototype, the 4100 series, were engines that were used in Toronto exclusively, or almost exclusively in Toronto. They were in helper service, and you can see big fat boiler, tiny little wheels. This thing didn't run any faster than about 30 miles an hour. There's one engine left. There was 5 that were built. The one that is left is in Expo Rail in Montreal, and it's a massive machine. So they used it in helper service to bring trains up and over the Scarborough Hill in just the east side of Toronto, east of Union
And that
Station.
was pretty much its job.
They faced east all the time, whether they were pulling a train eastbound or if they were pulling a train westbound. They'd couple on nose first on the engine and pull it back up over the Scarborough Hill.
So it would have been serviceable at Spadina?
Yep. Yeah, these are Spadina engines.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think they went into Mimico.
Mimico.
Yeah,
Okay.
they came out of the freight yard in Mimico.
Okay.
But you'll see lots of pictures in the 40s and of these engines doing transfer servicing in and around Toronto. But I heard they actually were transferred down into not too far from where you live, down in the Niagara region, and they were put into the helper service on some of the grades up around the Niagara Escarpment. So
It just looks beefy. I mean, even the model and the prototype, it just looks like a force to be reckoned with.
right.
You know,
And in O-scale, this is literally a one-of-a-kind model. They only ever made one engine, so this is it. So there's because it's such a true Toronto engine, and it runs on the Model Railroad Club of Toronto. It's kind of a real classic engine to have on that layout.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at with how happy are you on a scale of 1 to 10 with its performance now?
It's getting towards an 8.
It's working up to an 8.
It started at a 2.
Okay.
Yeah. It ran forward. The frame was broken. There was the springing on the drivers were bad. One of the drivers was out of gauge. It went on and on and on and on and on.
When Dave started working on this engine, he had hair down to his waist, and look at him now. So, give you an idea of the frustration level.
That's right. And
What's in it for electronics?
it's got a lock sound decoder.
Okay.
Standard lock sound, XL decoder. So that's pretty well the club standard on that. And then it's I forget what sound file I downloaded into it, but when it's running, it's got
The big beast.
It's
the big beast sound file.
It sounds like it's exploding.
Yeah.
It's such a chuff out of that thing.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's
Pretty happy with it. It was a real unique find.
What's interesting about models like this, I look at something like this and I just marvel at the craftsmanship.
Yeah, because it was scratch built. You look at
Yeah.
this and
I wouldn't
coming
know
up
where
with
to
a
start.
Vanderbilt tender. I mean, you look at other features. I mean, they were telling me how much time they put into this. You know, and the boiler here. If you look inside of it, it's just a beautiful piece of artwork, really.
Did they give you any indication of man hours?
Oh, Chuck
Besides
told me it
countless?
would take him about 400 hours to do a locomotive. Wow. So you're looking at about.
Crazy.
And then he'd sell them for $1,200. So what do you do the math?
Yeah, was he really making any
Yeah,
money?
you're not making a lot of money.
No.
It's not anything you're going to get rich at by scratch building engines.
I can't really talk to O scale like you can, being an HO, but we're so spoiled.
Yeah.
We are so spoiled.
Yeah, like things that you can get in HO. That's one of the biggest challenges about O-scale is until recently, you couldn't find any Canadian locomotives. Now I was fortunate. The Sunset brought out D10s. Weaver brought out G5s. These are CP engines. I don't know if you know that. You're a diesel guy, but
Is that the Canadian Pacific Railway? Is that what that? Tell me more, Dave. Tell me more.
that was actually why I did the DAR, because they ran a lot of D10s. So like, wow, I can actually do the DAR. So that's really the story. The last thing I wanted to talk about is kind of another type of modeling. This is something we'll do at Little Canada. So for our viewing audience here, that's me in miniature.
Mini-me.
Can I borrow this?
Yeah.
I'm going to set it right out here. And I'll let the camera focus in on that. That is Dave McLean in miniature.
So what we will do is an offering at Little Canada is you'll be able to get yourself scanned in our photo booth, and it takes a picture of you with 140 cameras, instantly translates you into a 3-dimensional image. And then you get to look on the screen and see yourself rotated around in 3 dimensions. Really, really a lot of fun. So, yeah.
How many diet and exercise plans
Yeah.
get embarked upon
Well-
after a visit to the photo booth?
Well, here's the thing. For an extra $5, we'll take 5 pounds off, or 5 years. Your choice.
I look really good in the dark. Did I ever tell you that?
So
That's really neat.
yeah, and you can get yourself scanned into an HO scale version, and then you can actually get yourself placed in. You take it home, put it on your own layout, or you can leave it at Little Canada, and you can get placed into whatever you want.
Figure out where you want to be.
Yeah, so it actually, even in HO scale, it's recognizable. You could wear, like, hey, Bob, you got a black shirt on and an orange hat today. If you got scanned into an HO scale person, it's completely recognizable. So
Oh, wow.
We have one Bob in the world. We don't need any replicas.
Yeah, mini
We know
Bob.
that,
Yeah.
So that's my story, and that's
Yeah,
some of the stuff.
that is fantastic. Dave, while we're talking about O scale, before we move on to Neil, in today's market, and I know it's all over the place, and this will be an outlier. What is the median yellow line, middle of the road price for a 2-rail O scale locomotive today? Just
it's all over the map. If
yeah,
you look
I'm
like
sure.
a
$400, $500.
You look at a diesel locomotive, you have $500. You get into steam, it goes from like a D10, a small steam engine would be about $1,000.
And we're talking about Canadian dollars.
If you look on eBay, it's $1,000 US right now. You get into some of the more exotic manufacturers. There's a company called Coase and Company. They made a model of a Challenger. It ran for about $6,000, but there was no compromises on this engine. Every little detail was
and
there.
Probably ran like a Swiss watch.
Yeah. So I mean, it really ranges, and again, it's quality and time, and how many hours are they going to put in the manufacturing of this engine.
I'm really impressed by the craftsmanship.
There's a brass manufacturer that's relatively new that's making, like, I know SD40-2s.
Yeah.
We're in the, I don't know who it is, but the same range. They custom build them, whatever railroad, but in that range of.
Here's our fourth guest, Neil. Hold that thought.
It's kind of annoying. They're here all the time.
Yeah.
But I saw some of this. I don't know if it was on the internet. I saw it somewhere, and the guy custom builds brass engines for people, and I saw SD40-2. But the craftsmanship was just, you'll never see it like.
And you can, because it's larger. You know, every component's larger. You can spend the time and put a lot of detail into it if you want. Yeah. But I mean, you can, like an engine like this, if you can find them, they're about $300.
Is that sound or no?
That's without
DC,
anything in it. So I
DC.
put new motor, new speakers, sound. So you add all the standard DCC components.
It's about $600 by the time you get to the end of it.
Yeah.
Decoder, speaker.
Yeah. But you don't need as many, because they're, unless you're running on a large club layout. At home, 3-4 engines, you're done, right?
Yeah.
So
Neil, decoder, the translation, that's Dakota.
Dakota.
Yeah.
That's not it's not the state.
There's actually a North Dakota and a South Dakota, and there's also a Sound Dakota.
All right, All right.
Dave, that's very cool. Yeah. Don't be surprised if you see me in your photo booth at some point soon.
I might be surprised. Believe me.
You might want to book.
I'll be shocked. Actually,
you might want to book a sick day, but that's. I'll leave that up to you. Neil, what'd you bring?
All right. Let me move this out of the way for you,
Dave. So today's show and tell is just going to be some HO scale structures that I've been working on. So the week before, leading up to coming up here to visit, I finally had some time away from work to work on the layout, and I'm actually in the process of building Newport Yard, in Newport, Vermont. One of the challenges with building a prototype-based model railroad, of course, is you have to, unfortunately, you've got to scratch build a lot of structures. There's nothing fancy here, just basically a two-hand car shed and a couple structures, but it is challenging. So you can't go to the store and buy the Newport Roundhouse or anything like that. So you gotta. It'll be nice.
Atlas hasn't made the Newport Roundhouse kit
I'm
yet.
hoping. One of the most challenging things I got to build is the turntable at Newport. Not a off the shelf Walther's turntable. It's a 68-foot turntable, and I think it was built for the steam engines. I think the decapods that were on, not decapods, what were they, 260s, I think, that ran there. It was about a 68-foot turntable, and I've just started to scratch build it a little bit, started with the base and stuff like that. But as I built these structures, I've always worked in styrene. And I know a lot of guys that build in wood and Northeast scale model woods and structures and stuff like that. But to me, the great thing about styrene is just the number of different materials that are available, like different sidings, brick. So this one right here is actually just going to be a mobile station. So from various photos that I've been able to come up with.
Mobile as in a mobile
gas station.
Gas station.
Yep.
Yeah.
So in downtown Newport, the area that I'm modeling, there was a junction right there. Basically, it was the Newport subdivision split from the Quebec Central. And it was a neat junction. The Quebec Central went up towards Sherbrooke, and the Newport continued on to through Richford, up into Canada, or up into Canada, back into Richford, the U.S., and back up to Farnham.
Yeah.
And but there's a little small part of downtown Newport that I'm going to model, and I've got probably 7 or 8 structures that I've got to build. But one of the areas right in downtown is a gas station. It happened to be a mobile gas station. So from various photos, and I even took a ride up there a few weeks ago, went to the library. I was able to go to the library and get research, talk to a few people, very helpful up there, and actually gave me some photos of that I was able to see. There's the mobile station. So I was able to recreate that, and I still have a long way to go. I got to put a lot of details on it. I've got signs that I can put on it and stuff like that, but it's a start. Same thing with these buildings. So these buildings this week, I've been working on the Newport Yard area, and spent an evening actually just banged out these 3 buildings from styrene, just set up on the workbench.
Do you do interiors in them as well?
Nope.
What's wrong with you?
Not enough time in the day.
I know somebody that makes some really good interiors that might fit in a
we
few
should
of
talk
those.
to him.
Well, when I go to Candyland, I think maybe they can go get some free details or something. But I had a layout, previous layout actually. I had a very large paper mill complex, and I actually had one guy come in and kind of give me the riot act why I didn't have a detailed interior in it, because there was a lot of big windows, so you could see, and it made sense.
Right.
But honestly, it's a matter of time.
Probably from someone who's never glued 2 pieces of styrene together ever.
No, actually, it was from somebody that had built a layout before. But you know, the interesting part of the hobby is everybody's got a different something that they key into when they walk into a model railroad.
Right.
It's true. It's true.
And people walk in and they just see something, and if you don't have it perfected on your layout, they might point it out. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's simply people's observations. But you know, it's neat. Something like a couple of these small buildings. That this is actually just at the engine servicing facility in Newport. They had a sand tower, and this was basically plopped right across the tracks at the sand tower. And I envision, I've got a lot of photos and stuff like that, but basically it's got to be weathered. There was a big pile of plain sand just piled up right next to it. And you get these right here, they don't look like that much, but once you get them into a scene,
that's
and
right.
I can start to see, like I've got the tracks already done with basically piles of sand and oil and goop all around the engine facility. And I can't wait to create the scene around that. Basically, this was on one side of the tower, this was on the other side, so I'll add all kinds of details and stuff.
And you'll weather these.
I'll
There'll
weather
be window
them.
glazing.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
And you can see there's not much to them. I mean, there's basically just styrene.
Do you design them first? You said you were talking that you were a fair bit about CAD. Did you use CAD to design them, and then?
I haven't for these structures. I didn't, but I have used CAD for some of the larger buildings and stuff like that. I've done some larger mill complexes. I actually did a large Agway feed mill on my layout. It's been published, but in CAD, basically, I drew the whole thing up in CAD and was able to.
That Agway mill you built is gorgeous.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, if you ever get bored with it.
I'll keep you.
I know a guy.
I won't keep you in mind. It's probably
Okay.
the way
Appreciate
I'll
it.
But
it's gorgeous.
Yeah, but for CAD, for CAD, having that ability and that knowledge really helps out in the hobby for sure. But something small like this, it's just a matter of.
Is styrene your substrate of choice? Your material of choice?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
it bonds nicely. It's easy to cut.
Right.
It's quick. For me. It's I like to get it. The limited time you have sometimes in the hobby, I'd like to get in and out of a project if I can. And with styrene, that's the benefit of it glues easy. You can, if I don't like.
Right, and the fumes are good too.
Yeah, I enjoy those. Yeah. But there's all you can use. ACC. There's tester cement.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different
Takes
ways.
paint easily.
It takes paint. These are painted with scale coat paints, which I love, but they're glossy. But of course, I'll dull coat them, get some weathering on them.
Neil, on your mobile station, talk to me about the sort of the burgundy brick pattern there. What did you use there? Is that a textured sheet or?
So I wish I knew the name. So I think it's Architectural Scale Models makes brick siding. Right. And that's they make all different versions of brick, regular, I don't know, all the different soldier courses and everything else. They make a whole different. They make O scale too, I think. They make.
I believe so.
But they make HO. But they make HO in all different sizes. And as a profession, I work in the environmental consulting industry, and spent a lot of time around gas stations, so I've actually had the opportunity to go in and measure gas stations, and so I've actually got 3 or 4 Sunoco station, a Shell station, and a few others, but I didn't have a mobile. And downtown Newport had a mobile, so it was.
You know what's interesting about gas stations, particularly, is they can be era setters.
Yes, yeah.
The price of the fuel,
Right. Yep.
the signage,
Yep.
The name.
yeah,
Yeah.
the name,
Right.
the
Mobile.
design, even the the gas pumps have changed
Yeah.
over the years. There can be a real era setter.
Yeah, and nobody makes a good, say, 1970s to 80s era gas station. There's certainly some 50s, maybe 60s,
Yeah.
and there's some newer ones, but
That's so prevalent. There's so much in the 50s. There's so little that's
yeah.
modern, more modern. Yeah.
And gas stations were everywhere. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean? They really, by the time you add details, I've actually even done some details with the gas pumps and the canopies. You know, because gas stations, if you think about it, have changed a lot
Oh, sure.
in the years. You know, now everything's got overhead canopy, whereas back then they just had the dispenser island and that was it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So just
tire
little
rack
details
and
like
all
that.
that, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, like that's a that'll be a service station, so
Right.
you'll have the
Someone
Exxon
like-
local.
Yeah, someone in a uniform pumping your gas into your car, right?
That's maybe going back a little bit before the 80s.
Well,
but-
that was Bob's first job.
When I was a kid, my dad had a good friend who owned a Sunoco station
yeah.
in my hometown, and I remember back then it was just the concrete island with, I think they
Yeah.
had 2 pumps. It was like regular and premium.
Yeah.
That was it. And I remember they used to have an airline that ran out, and when the car went over the line,
would
the
yeah,
the
I
dinger would
remember
go
that.
off,
Yeah.
and that was
That would
back.
wake you up, right? And then you'd go out.
Yeah. Well, I was in bugging my dad for quarters for the jelly bean machine.
Oh, right.
So I had my cheeks full like a squirrel storing his nuts, with jelly beans. And but that was back in the day when they'd pop your hood and check the
Yeah,
oil, and
right.
guy had a rag in his back pocket. And
Yep.
I think I hear our 4th guest coming.
Yeah.
Once again.
So,
Yeah. It's so
we're
annoying
blessed
we
with-
keep getting interrupted by these trains. Trying to make a show here. Love that stainless steel, Dave McLean.
Oh, it's awesome.
Love that stainless steel.
That chuffing almost sounded like a steam engine.
It
too.
does. Steam lives.
Yeah, they need the helper.
Just
They
need a
your helper.
2-cycle engine.
Yeah.
Right?
But yeah, the gas stations have really changed. Call them service centers now.
service, yeah.
Yeah. Mind you, they're less on service.
yeah. But they can set an error, like you said, so it's nice to. And I built enough of them, and like I said, I worked around them, so I had the opportunity to kind of get a lot of photos where I could.
Do you have a bit of a thing? Like, is gas station modeling a bit of a subset of interest for you? Because you do have some beauties on your layout.
Honestly, it's not necessarily that I have an interest. It's just that I'm also modeling Orleans, Vermont, which is south of Newport. In the area I'm modeling, just happened to have a Sunoco station. So I modeled the
So you're
Sunoco
modeling it
station.
because it was there.
Because it was there, yeah. And but it is neat to be able to do a little research and having a little bit of knowledge in the industry.
Yeah.
You can have the vent stacks. I'll put the vent stacks for the tanks and stuff like that on there too.
How many hours roughly? Just I know they're not finished, but just what we're looking at. How many man hours would you be looking at there?
Probably. Each of these structures are probably about 3 hours a piece by the time I painted them and everything else.
To bring them to where they are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This maybe 8 hours.
8
something
hours,
like that.
yeah.
By the time you cut it all out.
The nice thing about these structures is they're complex enough that they add great character to a scene,
Yeah.
but they're simple enough that you don't have to spend 8 months of your life
Yeah.
trying to build
Yeah.
build the thing.
And
So
the nice thing I like about it too, on a prototype-based model railroad, is it's not just about the rolling stock; it's also about the structures, set of
Absolutely.
location stuff. So building these types of structures, they're unique enough that you're not going to see them off the shelf type of thing, which is kind of neat. That's
Neat.
all. That's the fun part.
Nicely
yeah.
done.
thanks, Neil. Thanks
Yep.
for bringing those.
Very nice.
Yeah, Neil, put your toys away.
All right, Bob. They're not going to end up in your layout either. Don't worry. Nice try.
Well, that's one of the challenges with us both modeling the same year and the same railway. We can shop in each other's basements.
Yeah. You were pretty stingy though when I stopped earlier yesterday.
There's a locksmith at
That's
my
why
place.
I put the
as
metal
we speak.
detector at the basement.
Changing the
Yeah,
locks. Bob Scott, you can't be the owner of Canada's largest hobby shop and
Not
bring
have a few candies?
not bring some goodies.
Not bring some candies
Yeah.
over?
Candy store.
What'd you bring?
Well, we haven't got time to go through everything.
And can I take it home?
Oh, sure, yeah. The first,
What you got?
well, we got a bus here from our friend Jason at Rapido. and all I have to do is
There it is.
there it is.
Well packaged they are, aren't they?
We had a special run done from Jason. As some people might know, he owns the full-size bus that he bought and reconditioned back to its glory in TTC colors. And a lot of the regionals in southern Ontario and across the US really had the same type of fishbowl design that GM used in the 70s and 80s, and everybody needs one on their layout at least. These particular ones are for Mississauga Transit, which was our home road, if you will. And we did them in 4 different numbers. What he did basically was he did some that were painted. They're all painted the same, but inside the deluxe version, not only do they light up, but he's painted the seats properly. Wow. He's got the silver. He's got the fare box inside, like the detail. And that's what I was saying about the inside. Some people love to have buildings with the details inside, vehicles the same, and it just kind of brings the whole layout to the next level. I'm not going to go through everything, but just brought a couple of quick little. We've got one of the new Walthers mainline cars because I know somebody here likes CP. I can't remember which one of you guys like CP, but
I can't, hold on.
I thought I'd bring that just to kind of show everybody kind of the detail. Now, some people look at mainline and go, oh, you know, geez, it's Walthers. Mainline, it's cheaper, but the detail on these, the paint scheme, the painting is spectacular. And I know if some of you out there follow Bob in his Facebook posts, but he'll take something, a model like this, and you know that you can buy for like $25, and you know, maybe change out the couplers and put on the cushion
Draft gear,
and maybe change the wheel sets up and do some weathering. And
give it some love.
Give it some love, and you've got a beautiful car for, you know, pretty cheap. You don't have to spend $200 on a freight car.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's a lot of new items out there that people say, oh, you know, the hobby's too expensive. Well, yeah, they're, you know, things are more expensive than the $5 shake in the box kit that we might have had 20, 25 years ago, but the detail is much better. Yeah. The painting is very crisp.
They track better.
They're very out of the box.
Thank
put
God
them on
those
the
horn hook couplers are gone.
Yeah. And I brought a couple of other, this is from our friends at Scale Trains, one of the new kids on the block, if you will. They've only been around a few years. They've got some really nice prototypical cars out on the market right now. One of the trains earlier had a carbon black car, and this is one of those. So you can kind of see the different detailing that's involved in their cars. Now they have different levels.
Is that the Highland Feeds car? I can't see from here.
Yeah.
I love that paint scheme.
Is that their...
Yeah, that's a beauty.
Yeah,
Bob, did you take this out of stock at the store?
Yeah.
Is it off the system?
It's off the system.
That's
still
good.
on my desk.
Okay, well,
but
that's good.
You know, this
the
type
bookkeeping reflects that.
Yeah.
Bob.
Yeah. This type of detailing, you know, they've already got some of the grab irons on the sides, very, very fine.
Wow.
Coupler lift bars, which Bob likes to change.
Yes.
It's got the nicer wheel sets on it. Very, very fine painting and deckling. They have 2 levels in their, actually they have 3 really. They have the rivet counter, which is their top end. Everything's there.
This is rivet counter.
This is rivet counter. They have operator, which basically is the same, they'll do the same car, but might not have the same amount of, and it's usually the printing. The printing doesn't have all but they'll give you a decal sheet that you can add on, especially with their tank cars. you can add on all the things that they would
I
have
think the
put
roof
on
lock
second.
isn't see-through or something a little bit different.
That's right.
maybe,
Yeah. It's not metal like this.
And they give you a poly bag with all the grabs and
That's right.
parts.
So
and
you
the-
can
yeah.
model a little bit yourself.
Yeah.
Or as Bob likes to have, they have what they call their kit classics.
Oh yeah, love my kit classics.
Okay. And again, you can get somebody involved in the hobby for $20.
Yep.
You know, that's the old Athearn Shake in the Box kit. Everything's included. You've got some nice painting. You've got the couplers, the wheel sets. You know, you got to get out. You know, a screwdriver. Everybody remembers a screwdriver, and use a little bit of work and.
Dave
get
was
put
around when
together.
the screwdriver was invented.
Oh, was he?
He was there.
Yeah.
I invented it.
Do you remember that?
No,
year?
I invented it.
Yeah. And
Love
then,
you, Dave.
And then we've got a few things like even from our friends at Diecast Truck World in the States, getting nice signage for the train room. And this is one of Bob's favorite. That's why he picked this one. All rail fans welcome. Rule 1, conductor's always right. And Rule 2, when in doubt, refer back to Rule 1. So that's one of his favorite. And memorabilia and signage and that type of thing is really, you know, an up and coming for the hobbyists. They want to decorate their room as theirs. And
I just wanted to touch on that Kit Classics car, Bob. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did I not hear something about scale trains and how they designed the box? The old thing used to be we've all built MDC and blue box cars, and then when you put the couplers on them, the box wasn't long enough
That's
to
right.
put it back,
Right.
to put the car back in.
That's
did,
right.
Did I not hear something about their packaging?
their packaging,
That
as
they,
you can see,
they made it so you can put.
they
the
made it so that once
Yeah.
you build the car, you can put the car back in the box.
That's
Yeah.
so smart.
Like,
Shane Wilson, you're a smart man.
yeah, somebody was
Yeah.
thinking, and it was
Yeah.
Shane. But yeah,
that's great.
you know, simple little thing.
Bob, when you look at your overall sales, not day to day, but big picture, your customer base, do you see a good mix of entry level kid with his dad, train set, getting into it customer? Is that more what you see? Is it mixed out? Is it old farts like Neil and I that've been doing this forever? Serious guys? Is it a mix? What
You get a huge mix.
What do you
know,
see?
from day to day? You know, you might have people coming in, as you say, with. I mean, we've been around a long time now, so we've seen people that have come in with their dads, started a train set, grown up. You know, maybe gone to school or high school, got married. Maybe don't see them for a few years, but now they're back again.
They're back.
With their kids.
Yeah.
And wanting to get their kids into it so that they can enjoy it again. You know, don't put it all on the kids. You know, you really want to get back into trains.
Just in a good reason.
Yeah. So again, this is why a lot of the manufacturers are gearing towards entry level. You know, you don't need to spend again $150, $200 on a freight car to get somebody involved. You could
Right.
buy, you know, 3 or 4 of these and have some weekend enjoyment with the kids, putting them together, weathering them, maybe putting some graffiti on the side.
Right.
And then you've got nice rolling stock put together running on your layout.
Right, and it's $25.
Yeah.
But then you've got, you know, again, back to this, you've got something that
Right, for the
for
more
for the-
discriminating modeler
exactly
who wants to,
that
doesn't mind
wants
spending.
wants something really prototypical,
Right.
wants it running really well, wants all the detail, all the
Right.
painting, willing to spend $50 or $60
Right.
for a freight car.
Yeah.
But you're going to get high quality.
But the nice thing is you don't have to spend that.
No.
You know, it's scalable.
Right.
You know, you hear this trope about, you know, the hobby's expensive. Well, RVing's expensive. You know, custom
Yeah.
cars is expensive. Golfing.
Owning a
Golfing.
boat is
Yeah,
expensive.
owning a boat is
Yeah.
is
Going to Starbucks is
Yeah.
expensive.
I got a buddy that has. I live on a lake, and I got a buddy with a speedboat, and it can cost him $300 or $400 on a Saturday for fuel,
Yeah.
depending on how he drives his
Yeah.
Or if you
Speedboat.
if you come around, yeah.
and how far. Yeah, if he has to tow me, the fuel mileage goes way down. So
And then
But
then you're done. You buy this, you spend $50, you've got it for the
you're
next 20
amortizing
years.
that $50 over
Right.
possibly 30, 40 years, however.
Right.
however
It's an
long.
asset. It doesn't go away.
Yeah, it's like buying a house, right? You know, you spend a lot of money on your house, but you amortize it over 20 years, 25 years, and then you've
Right.
got it.
Right.
I think right now it's a really great time to be in the hobby because there's so many different levels that you could get into.
Right.
You know, either when you're starting entry level or starting at a more mature level and you want to, you know, collect or buy really nice, good
Right.
running equipment. And the selection is incredible.
One of the great aspects too, like, you know, belonging to a club, I belong to a club, but being a member of a club is a great way to get a lot of experience because you're surrounded by people that have a lot of experience and some people that are entry level. And you most clubs is kind of everybody helps out, so you kind of get
Right.
a little
It's a collective effort, right?
Yeah.
Everyone gets to focus on what they like to do or learn new skills. That's one of the biggest things is skills transfer,
Yeah.
being a member of a club.
The nice thing about maybe belonging to a club too is that the club can be a different experience than what you're modeling at home.
Of course, yeah.
I'm an HO. Dave's been gracious enough to have me into the O-Scale Club. There was that incident with the Canadian. Yeah.
No, we're still talking though. That's okay.
I made the reparation payments. Really should put that to bed now. So
Have you ever seen a passenger car fly? Never mind.
anything's possible when Bob's around. We know that. Yeah.
I thought you said notch 8. You said notch 3. It sounded like 8 to me. But I've got HO trains at home. I go to the O-Scale Club with Dave. He puts a controller in my hand. And now I've got a DCC sound-equipped O-Scale CPR Canadian at my fingertips, and derailed it with all the splendor of that you could imagine. But you go and appreciate that, and you talk to the guys there, and they're happy to share about O-Scale. But then you can go back to your HO world at home. So it almost gives you an opportunity to maybe participate differently in the hobby, so you can.
Well, exactly,
multiple skills.
and I'm a member of a Fremo club, the Credit Valley Fremo, and a lot of the guys that are in the club don't have these big, huge, grande layouts, right? But they love to run long trains, like we've been seeing here today. And so they might have 3 or 4 cars on a train at home, but they come to the club, and because we're stretched out 50 or 60 feet or more, you know, they put all their train cars together and they can run something that's 30
fun.
or 40
That's fun.
cars and get really excited about it.
Yeah.
And
If
the
you
kids
want to have
love it
me,
too.
if you want to have me out to the Fremo, I can derail HO just as easy as I can O-Scale.
Yeah, we'll find somebody with a Canadian for you.
It's a gift. It's a gift.
Yeah.
It's a gift.
Yeah. Yeah. Guys, this has been an excellent conversation. It's been a beautiful night on the platform. Our fourth guest made a few appearances tonight.
Once again.
Right on cue.
Yeah. Thanks very much for joining us. And thanks everybody for joining us once again on the platform. We'll see you next time.